Hey there, everybody, it's Kaiju Tony here, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly GegaHub Show. I'm with
Adam Crin.
and
Louis Stellatore.
And before we get into our show, let's talk about our sponsor, Cosmic Comics, which is in beautiful Las Vegas.
The jewel of the Mojave.
There you
Did
go.
I get it?
Nice.
I know my geographical location.
We have comics, t-shirts, Funko Pops, manga,
Outlaw Energy.
Outlaw Energy drinks still.
Love Western comics here. I'm noticing a lot of Western comics.
Yes, Inside Oak.
All right.
Joke.
We do have manga. Yeah.
Yep, we got
Statues, games,
posters.
Action
statues,
figures.
action figures, lanyards, stickers, patches.
We're more than just
Kids'
pops
books.
people. We have a lot of things, a wide variety.
Back issues from the golden age of comics.
Indeed.
That's right, 1930s and 40s.
If you want to go to a fancy dinner party, we have shirts here for fancy dinner parties.
Well, we got shirts here. I'll say that. Yeah.
Just wear a sports coat over it.
Right. Right. Yeah, cool. All right.
Just wear a sports coat over your Green Lantern symbol shirt.
Right, there you go.
Be the talk of the party.
All right. So this week we are going to spend some time talking about superhero films and TV.
Now, we've talked about things like this before.
We have.
Mostly very specialized, but we want to talk about, in general.
This is sort of the influence of movies on each other, I guess, and how they've sort of evolved, and TV shows. And now, of course, comic book movies go all the way back to, I think, the 40s, honestly.
Yeah.
With some of the, they were serials, but they were still shown in movie
With
theaters.
the Flash Gordons.
Captain America's, Flash Gordon's, Batman.
Doc Samson.
I think early Supermans were shown as well.
There was an old Green Hornet, I know that.
Right, and then of course you get into Batman 1966 with the television show and the movie the movie Batman. But we're going to start a little later, and the reason why we're going to start at Batman, the Tim Burton 1988, I think?
89.
Because I figure we have a unique perspective, and that unique perspective is basically that I was an adult, a young adult, but I think I was 20 when that came out.
I was
you were
4.
You were
when it
fairly
came
young.
out,
Yeah,
so
you
I
were
didn't watch
like-
it until years later.
Yeah, and you, of course, watched it much later because you weren't born yet. So it's kind of a different perspective.
It was the first Batman movie I ever saw.
It was, oh, really? Wow. Okay. I can tell you that that's one of the first movies I ever hated, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I remember watching it thinking, this isn't Batman at all. Even though a lot of people actually love the movie. I mean, what do you remember?
I remember it. Well, here's the thing. When I first saw it,
Yeah.
I forgot how old I was. Obviously, I didn't see it at 4.
Right.
But I remember you could have put anything in front of me of
That's
that
fair. That's
caliber
fair.
at that
Yeah,
point, and
yeah.
I would have thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever. Like, all the Supermans were the greatest movies I ever saw.
Right.
Like,
Even
same with the
Yeah, the
Batman.
70s Superman films.
Even
yeah.
with the so I think I grew up with this very nostalgic lens of
Yeah.
it. Like, even now, I look back on it. Are they the best Batman films? No, but
No, yeah.
I love watching them.
That's fair.
They're great. I think I have a box set that has all of
I
the
actually
old
have
ones.
them all. I have all of them too.
Right, yeah, for 1, 2,
Mostly
and
for
then
riff tracks.
Batman
Yeah.
and Robin. And, yeah.
What was your thoughts on the original Burton
Well, when I was
quadrilogy, even though he only did 2 of the 4?
when I was 5, 2 of the first VHS tapes I had were Batman 89 and Batman Forever, and I watched it back to back almost all the time.
Yeah,
I didn't even know Batman Returns was a thing until I was I want to say 7,
Oh, wow.
and Batman and Robin as well.
I think of all of them, the second one, I'm with you. The second one was the one that I watched the most.
I remember liking the second one when it came out,
Mhm.
only because I think Christopher Walken and the guy that played his son, who did such an amazing job that he really isn't recognized enough. I just remember that, more than anything.
back.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so that's where we're starting.
Can we bring back Danny DeVito as the Penguin?
Yeah, right.
If we ever need
Weird
a
mutated
yeah.
penguin, and then excuse me, and then of course we get into you get past that into the Schumacher era, which saw
Glorious.
which
They're
saw
misunderstood.
which saw, I think they are misunderstood. And the biggest reason is because the whole point or the whole thing that they were trying to do, which they were put the production the producers constantly at odds, or the studio constantly at odds with Tim Burton, was they were trying to revive Batman 66.
Yep.
Which Schumacher got back to with Batman, the much maligned Batman and Robin, which is an entertainingly silly movie.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what people forget. Batman Forever, despite its flaws, I think that Val Kilmer probably did the best job, I think, as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I know people hate me for that, but he did such a good, subtle imitation of Adam West. It was amazing.
It's supposed to be a movie that delves into the psyche of Bruce Wayne and him considering if he should continue being a Batman or not. It's not another, I'm Batman, I have to go on another adventure stopping these guys.
I think that was the problem, though, right? Like, I think a lot of people didn't understand that.
Right, yeah.
So, like, if you go in with the mindset of this is supposed to be an homage or a love letter to Batman 66,
right.
I think you could appreciate it a lot more. Than if you were just went in there expecting a serious Batman movie and you got basically a cartoon.
Right, right. And I think Batman Forever suffered from the fact that they were really stuck on the idea of every villain was just a Joker repeat. Except they look differently. That was a flaw, you know. Jim Carrey was the Joker. Yeah. Tommy Lee Jones was the Joker. I mean, it's like, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah, goofball Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, goofball.
Here's the thing about Tommy Lee Jones. Just a real quick thing. He looks so serious all the time. I feel like anytime he has to do something for laughs, like when they cut, he throws up. You know what I mean? Like anytime he does something goofy, it's like, and cut.
Well, apparently he didn't like working on that movie, I guess.
He did not like working with Jim Carrey.
So yeah, there's that. But yeah, so people have a lot of mixed feelings about those films. I actually enjoy Batman and Robin for what it is, which is kind of a zany sort of update of Batman 66.
I would recommend that people watch the original Batman film from 66, just Batman.
Yeah,
and then
watch
Batman and Robin. Yeah. I think that would give you perfect sense of what it's supposed to be.
Yes, a better. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, because the Batman 66 show is just amazing. Anyway, but we're not going there.
I loved it as a kid. It was great.
So moving into that, really after the 90s, I mean, what did we really have in the 90s?
Steel?
Other than the Batman movies. Okay. What did we really have?
Be serious, Tony.
Be serious, Tony. Yeah.
Spawn?
That's right. Spawn did come out in the 90s. Also terrible. Not the Keith David HBO. That one was good.
That one was good.
Michael Jai White Spawn film was
which I don't.
Bad.
That sucks. I don't dislike Michael Jai. I like
him.
Michael Jai White. I love him. Black Dynamite.
Black Dynamite is an amazing
film. Yeah.
Right. But that movie sucked.
I think that movie suffers from what the comic book suffered from, which was just like it was supposed to be. It was all style over substance.
Right. It didn't know where to go. Didn't know what to do.
But the costume looked so good.
And that was the thing. I think they put so much more.
John Leguizamo was pretty awesome.
I love John Leguizamo, but I think they put more emphasis on the way it looked, more than what was going on, kind of like an Image comic at the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's be honest,
kind of like a
real.
90s Image book.
But there's a reason why Spawn #1 is worth billions of dollars now, huh?
Right. I mean, I didn't see the movie until I was in high school, and when I saw it first time, even though I know there were some parts of it that were obviously bad, and most of it is pretty bad. When I first saw it, I'm like, this movie's awesome.
I think
I was in the military, and I think we played hooky that morning because by that point I had some rank. And so me and my friends who were all of relatively equal rank were just like, let's freaking tell our CO we're doing something else. And we went and saw it in uniform.
Oh, what a waste of your day.
4 of us.
You were better off working, huh?
And one of the 4 of us was like a huge Spawn fan. So he really he talked us all into it. But I mean, I went, so I'm not going to deny it. But I just remember thinking like, what the hell? Like, this is terrible. And even after he was like, oh, that was pretty good, right?
Oh my gosh.
It's like he was trying to.
He wanted validation.
Yeah, he was trying to.
You know what? You know what? There was a time when I was young, and I probably would have done the same thing. Like if I dragged you to a movie that I know was bad, like I would try to salvage it by going like, that wasn't too bad, right, guys? I didn't waste your day, did I? We were better off working, were we?
We were done by.
On subject of good comic book movies in the 90s, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Well, that was actually the 80s. I forgot about that one, though. Yeah, the first one was the 80s. That one was very good. Oh. It was all downhill from there. We don't have to get too much into
you guys,
Token
Ninja
Razor
Turtles 3? Are you serious?
Turtles in Time?
Turtles in Time? Are you kidding me?
Third one's a different story, but
it's a masterpiece.
But the second one, Toka and Razor, they're better than Bebop and Rocksteady.
Okay, that's fair. That is fair.
No,
but that movie's terrible.
That's blasphemy. That's blasphemy. Listen. I didn't hate Toka and Razor, but better than Bebop and Rocksteady. You get out of here, sir.
I do own the first movie. That's it, though. I don't own any of the others. Mama.
I mean, the fight they do with Toka and Razor is better than how they handled the Bebop and Rocksteady fight in the Out of the Shadows movie, where the turtles are the same build as Bebop and Rocksteady, and it kind of defeats the point of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And a lot of people don't realize Ernie Reyes Jr., who is in the second film, was in one of the suits in the first film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Ernie Reyes Jr., famously from the little kid from Last Dragon.
Oh, that's right.
Who fought his dad on stage. Yeah.
I forgot what convention I saw him in. It was Wizard World? No, it was something else.
But getting through the 90s, we finally hit where a lot of people consider the modern era of superhero movies really begins. Like, there is a clean distinction between what happened before and what happened after, and that would be X-Men.
Bryan Singer's
X-Men. Which at the time, I'll admit, and now at this point, I was pushing 30. Mm-hmm. So you would have been, what, like 15?
When did it 12? What was the year it came out?
99, 2000, something like that.
I think it came out 2000.
I was 15.
But yeah, when I listened to the soundtrack, because I admit I do love the soundtrack of the first X-Men movie more than X2 and X-Men Days of Future Past. I look at the soundtrack in like 2000, I'm like, wow, this came out in 2000. Hugh Jackman was Wolverine for like how many years?
Right. Now, to be fair,
no, go ahead.
Before we get into the X-Men films, though, there's one thing I wanted to point out about the 90s, which is where, when you talk about DC and Marvel, there's a lot of fans, TV-wise, of like X-Men cartoons and stuff. But to be honest, and to be fair, DC really dominated TV in the 90s.
All right.
Batman the Animated Series.
I thought you were going to bad talk that X-Men cartoon.
No.
But Batman the Animated Series
Animated Series,
gold.
Superman the Animated Series, Justice League. I mean, those cartoons were just
I think Justice League wasn't until
amazing.
like early 2000s.
No, I'm pretty sure it was. 90s? It might have started in the 90s. I think it might have made it into 2000. I'm pretty sure it started in the 90s.
I know Batman Beyond was, I think, 90s.
But a lot of those were just really, 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 really solid. Really good.
If you, by the way, if you haven't watched the animated series, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Go watch it now.
Go watch it. The animated series.
Watch Mask of the Phantasm.
Right. Great film.
Great film. Yeah.
Batman was very vulnerable in that cartoon. That's what's part of it makes it so good. He's very human, which unfortunately they seem to get away from.
He can fight Apocalypse.
Yeah, right.
Hand to hand.
Anyway, so back to the X-Men. So, my perception of that is like, I think we wanted to like it so much, and it was serviceable. As I go back in my mind's eye, being an adult, almost 30, and a comic book fan, I remember wanting to like it a lot, but I remember also not hating it. So therefore, it was like a thumbs up, if that makes sense.
If I was a Roman emperor, it's like
we needed it. Yeah,
right
we
here,
needed it, and it didn't hold up. I mean,
unfortunately,
when you were 15, you were like,
so I have always been a huge fan of the X-Men.
Okay.
The cartoon was like a really big like awakening for me when I was a kid. And I went in the same way. I wanted to. I was so excited. I wanted this. Now, granted, this was before I wasn't on the internet. I wasn't like picking up trade magazines like Hollywood Insider or anything like that. So like I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know. I only knew trailers or what have you.
Right.
So I went into this same way. I wanted to like it.
Yeah.
I was really excited. I watched it and I remember thinking, okay.
Yeah, it's not. Okay. And even today, it's not terrible, it's not but it's not great.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
What did you? I mean, you saw it later, right? Did you see it like
my dad show me X-Men
after Days of Future Past?
No, I think my dad showed me the first X-Men movie when I was 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then X2, and then saw X3 in theaters, and I didn't.
I'm sorry,
but
I wasted good money on X3.
yeah.
But here's my my take on Bryan Singer's take on X-Men and how basically it affected comic book movies for the longest time. It brought the idea that comic book movies have to be grounded and realistic. Like, they can't wear colorful costumes. They gotta wear these freaking black spandexes.
Yeah.
And, like, anything that's, like, remotely comic booky wouldn't translate well into film.
It wouldn't work,
Yeah, like, we can't have Wolverine with a mask
Yeah.
Even though the whole point of the X-Men wearing masks is
they paid for
Hugh
Hugh Jackman's face. I mean, there's a lot of movies that do that.
Yeah, and I think there's some validity to that. I mean, but I think back then they didn't know what would or wouldn't work, so they figured, well, nothing comic booky should work.
But
then they gave him like the stupidest hair.
Yeah.
Like it's like they were. Well, we have to have his hair. No, you didn't. That hair was always stupid.
Well, I remember there was I think even the first
it's the shape of his mask.
Get
rid of it.
I remember there was a line in the movie about that. And he's like, the costume, and he's like, "What'd you expect? Yellow spandex?" I'm like, "Oh my god." Why?
Yeah. And then now, like, we got Chris Evans as Captain America with his mask.
Yeah.
And, like he didn't need to wear his mask 24/7.
Right.
But he had his mask on. Why couldn't Hugh Jackman do the same? And I know there was a deleted ending for the Wolverine where he would have, like, had a preview of his classic costume. I'm like, why can we get that?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And, of course, the X-Men films, which X2 at the time was just amazing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't age well, but we'll get into why.
None of
but
them,
it was still far better than X-Men.
The X2
was far better than X-Men.
I thought it was boring when I first saw it.
Can I tell like a really quick anecdote?
Yeah.
I was at a convention when X3 came out, and we went to go. Once we left the convention hall, we went to go see it in like a movie theater, and I mean, we found out afterwards it was bad. But like in the opening scene, I was the only person to freak out because Chris Claremont was in the opening scene of X3.
Was it?
He was the guy mowing his lawn on the street where the Phoenix was.
Oh.
So like I saw him and I'm like, oh my god, it's Chris Claremont! And everyone was just like, is this guy freaking out about it? So
I thought X-Men 2 was boring.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
when I first saw it, okay.
Yeah. The context with which you saw it was probably a bit different.
Well,
You've been exposed to other movies.
I probably didn't understand most of it because when did X2 come out? Like
it had to have been 2002 or 3.
Yeah,
because
early 2000s.
I remember seeing Hellboy in theaters, and I think it was probably one of the first movies I saw in theaters when I was like maybe 4 or 5, and I thought that movie was awesome.
Yeah.
And then I go on and I see X2 in DVD, and I'm like, this is not as cool as Hellboy.
I watched Hellboy again not that long ago. I love it still.
Yeah, Hellboy's
it's still freaking great.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's great because it doesn't try to be great. Mm-hmm. It just kind of is, and for that reason, it's solid. It's really solid. Yeah. So then we get into the early 2000s, and then Sony. I think it was Sony, right? Didn't they own the rights to it?
Spider-Man?
There was the Raimi Spider-Mans, but there was also a couple little films.
Ooh.
Called The Fantastic Four.
Oh, yeah. Dun,
no.
dun, 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 dun.
No.
Yeah.
I had a choice for that.
Yeah, that first movie's not good.
I mean, I sort of like that Doctor Doom design.
Just Alba's completely miscast. I mean, she's actually, for who she is, she's good in it, but completely miscast.
Yeah.
For starters, just the really ridiculous fake blonde and
Blue
contacts
eyes.
just did not work.
It looked bad.
Yeah, it just didn't look good.
I mean, I liked how Thing was just a guy in a suit. It wasn't CG.
I thought Michael Chiklis was great. I'm glad they didn't go completely CG, but I wish they would have augmented his size with CG.
Oh, yeah.
Because
he's a short guy. Yeah.
He's short, and
They made
Ben
him
Grimm was
stubby.
taller than all of them.
Yeah.
He
and
sounded
when they're all walking side by side, slideshows on random, so hopefully a pic will come up. But when they walk side by side, he's not just the shortest one; he's by far the shortest one.
Human Torch was all right.
Dude.
Chris Evans, Human
Chris
Torch.
Evans, Human Torch. Honestly, I thought he was a little too beefy to play Johnny. Johnny wasn't a big beefy guy.
Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, he was all right. I like that actor.
Ian
Guffeld,
something like that.
But what about Doctor Doom?
No.
Doctor Doom superpowers.
Yeah, that was
Now,
just
so
bad.
the guy who played Doctor Doom,
Julian
forget
McMahon?
it. Julian McMahon.
Yeah.
I think he's not a bad choice.
No,
I think
that was just a bad.
I think the way
part.
they played it was bad.
Yeah.
I think but he wasn't by no means a bad. Like I remember hearing about it, like, oh, this guy I saw him Tuck, and he was in it. I'm like, this guy's
that's right.
kind of perfect.
kinda fits,
He fits, right?
But
And then whatever choice they went with on Doctor Doom was not great.
Not
I mean,
unfortunately.
when it first came out, I liked it, and at the same time, I had the Fantastic Four cartoon on DVD with the
Herbie.
Fantastic Four, boo-doo-doo-doo, and then like the intro shows them flying over Mount Rushmore, and all of a sudden,
Oh,
faces change.
is it one that's like it's like a co-production with France or something?
Yeah,
Or
and then like by the second
Yeah.
season, they end up fighting Galactus with like a whole bunch of other Marvel heroes, and
Nice.
Ghost Rider is the one who takes down Galactus by using the pen stare.
That actually
Are we
makes a lot
going
of
to
sense.
talk about Ghost Rider?
No, not a little bit, not yet.
Okay.
So
Because I'm ready.
So
ready to go into
early
Ghost Rider.
2000s, which you already mentioned, do herald in a much better series of movies
Yes.
that Sony produced, and that's Spider-Man.
Yes.
Sam Raimi's
Perfect
Spider-Man.
trilogy.
Now, to be fair, I think Sam Raimi is far more responsible for the success of those movies than Sony, because I think the Amazing Spider-Man movies really prove that Sony doesn't really understand what to do with Spider-Man.
Right.
And Spider-Man 3, technically. Not that I think as a whole it's not a good film, but I think its parts are good. But clearly there's just too much going on. And I know Raimi has complained about that before, where he was forced to add in Venom and all the other stuff.
Yeah,
too,
I think by 3 it'll just kind of there's too many cooks.
Right.
By
many,
3,
I still love it through in theaters.
Yeah.
2. This is another example where the sequel was probably the best of the 3.
Yeah.
Same with X-Men.
Spider-Man 2 is really
right?
good, yeah.
Star Wars, same thing. Like you just think of a lot of movies where just the
Right.
second movie is the best movie.
Highlander 2.
Not in that case.
No,
But,
but for some part, obviously, Spider-Man 2 was
All right.
really good. Yeah,
and I think Raimi did a lot to define what came after. The Spider-Man was also good. Probably the biggest problem with his first Spider-Man film to me was the Green Goblin's outfit.
Yeah.
Like, why they chose to do that was just bizarre to me.
Yeah.
You have an actor like Willem Dafoe who physically could play the Green
he
Goblin.
looks like a
Yeah.
goblin.
He's got kind of that face,
Yeah.
and they put him in a weird helmet.
So
Yeah.
here's the thing: we've seen this
Bizarre,
before, but
man.
for anyone who hasn't seen it, if you go to YouTube, you can look up the Green Goblin
Concept.
test,
Oh yeah,
concept
the
mask.
chest mask,
Yeah.
and it would move with his face and it looked so awesome.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like a flesh. It's like a mask that looks like flesh,
Yeah.
and like it has all like the like angry expressions, and
Yeah.
like basically they just play with it on film,
Right.
and it looks fantastic. I really
Right.
wish they would have
Yeah.
gone with that instead of
and some of
that
the
weird
concept art,
combat mask thing.
Yeah.
some of the
Fleet
concept art,
suit.
he
Yeah.
wore like freaking ripped up clothing and a hood, and he actually looked scary.
Yeah, right.
Especially imagine like him wearing.
I
like,
mean, if you
black
close your eyes
tattoos.
and listen to him in that movie, he's the Green Goblin. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll
Yeah.
get you, you Spider-Man!
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's freaking amazing.
Shake harder, boy.
Yeah, shake it out,
but
boy!
he's a Green Power Ranger, and he has
Yeah.
the only semblance of purple in his design is on the glider.
Yeah.
Which I mean, okay. Like when I first saw it, I was okay with it.
This
considering
is one of those examples in movies where I'm like, how does this work in a war? like they made it
Yeah, they
for
want
like
it-
combat. How
Yeah,
does
yeah.
this work?
Yeah.
How does this flight suit where the person riding on a surfboard
Right.
How does this
yeah.
work?
And they did the thing in that movie too, which bothered me, which is I think it maligns comic book stuff to this day because they did it in freaking the newest episode of WandaVision. It irritated the hell out of me, where they think they have to explain every little detail when you don't necessarily have to do that. And basically what it was like, well,
spoilers.
Norman Osborn. I'm going back to Spider-Man.
Okay.
Norman Osborn.
So spoilers for Spider-Man.
He really loves masks. Like, okay, like you don't have to
Explain.
You
Don't justify it. Don't justify
Yeah.
it.
The thing is, they didn't explain how Peter made his costume.
Right.
And that costume looks like it was made with
Right.
$1,000 and all the
Right.
details and
Yeah.
the webbing, all that.
Right.
And it's honestly still my favorite live-action suit aside the Toei suit.
Yeah, and I know we talked about that before, but that's the whole point of why the webs are the way they are, because it's the only way they can get them to show up on camera,
Yeah,
even though it's not traditional suit.
Yeah.
and
but-
it's still a beautiful-looking suit.
It is a beautiful looking suit. So yeah, Spider-Man really. I mean, yeah, Spider-Man 3 got a lot of flack. I don't hate that movie actually. I know a lot of people do. Do you love it? Yeah, I love its parts. I think there's a lot good in there. I think it's just as a film, it's not very good.
But I mean, let's just go back to like the way we've sort of been talking about, like where it starts with the X movie, and
Right.
it just sort of starts climbing up with
Right,
these
right.
Spider-Man movies.
Oh, we're
Obviously,
starting to roll. Yeah, we're starting to roll.
there's dips. Your
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3s, your
Is your
X3s,
dip.
but I mean, you can see it as it like starts to progress.
But before Spider-Man 3, there was
Before Spider-Man 3.
before Spider-Man 3 came out, there was a little film
Yeah.
that came out called Batman Begins.
Yep.
Mm.
Bump, bump.
And
Little indie film. I never heard of it.
little indie film by Christopher Nolan, Batman Begins.
You know, the director of a movie called Memento that not many people know about.
That film's good too. Yeah. So Batman Begins now. I haven't watched in a while, but I've heard people complain it really doesn't hold up. But I don't know. But that one was pretty good.
I actually just saw it recently in HBO Max like last week. It's all right.
It has
like,
its issues, but it's all right.
It's definitely more comic booky than the next two movies because
yes.
Nolan grounded Batman into a universe so realistic. Like, yeah, this could happen in the real world, not like
to a point.
Like like to the point where like you can't have villains like Man-Bat, Killer Croc, Mr. Freeze. You gotta have the realistic villains like Joker, Scarecrow. Even though, well, then again, hallucinogenic drugs could be a thing.
They exist.
But Bane, I mean. Bane, he gets his powers from...
Well, we'll get to that movie, because...
Again, another example of the third movie sucking.
But Batman Begins was a really big, I think, moment cinematically for superhero movies because it did a lot right. Especially before Spider-Man did a lot wrong. Spider-Man 3, I should say.
Definitely was a game changer. I think where those movies really were good was the fact that Nolan didn't... I feel like, and if I remember correctly, it's been a while, he didn't have to spoon feed anything to you. Like, everything that they did in the movie was a good script. It had meaning.
Right.
And you could pick up what's going on without having to go like, what's that? What does he mean by that? Like, there was nothing there that you couldn't understand. But nothing was spoon fed to you. Right, and then of course, like you were saying, Tony, there's that sort of realistic grittiness I think that people wanted. From
I didn't mind
movie.
it being in a realistic universe, but at the same time, like, okay, so you got Joker, you got Two-Face, which are villains that could possibly exist in real life, and Scarecrow, but where's Penguin? Penguin he could be an ordinary monster.
Yeah, that's true too. But one thing I did like that those movies introduced, it was also the idea that. The problem with comic books in general, or the whole pretense of comic books, or the conceit of comic books is escalation, which Nolan really addressed that. It's the idea. It's the idea that once you start doing this, now criminals are going to start doing other things too, and that's exactly what ends up happening. And that's a really good realistic twist to it. So,
and like,
go ahead.
Those movies. The Nolan movies were made in a post 9/11 world, and
they
wanted to add more themes, especially towards the Dark Knight, where Harvey Dent directly addresses Joker as a domestic terrorist.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and Batman having to do some really illegal things that
he had to.
That could like potentially be more illegal than what Joker's doing in order to catch Joker.
Correct. Yeah, that is true, and those are really good questions, and that's why Dark Knight is a really good film. But another great comic book film came out that year. Can anybody name it?
2008.
There's actually two other great comic book films.
Yeah, I remember getting the toys for this one, including one that ring that glow in the dark.
Which one's that?
It has Ryan Reynolds in it.
No, that wasn't one of the great.
No,
ones.
Was that 2008?
Are you sure? Did you watch the same one?
I thought that was later. I thought that was 2010.
Yeah, that was a lot later.
Probably, never mind. Yeah.
2008 saw Iron Man.
Okay, right.
Okay.
And also the same year, The Incredible Hulk.
Right.
Oh, that movie.
Ed Norton's Hulk?
But the best yet.
Wait, Ed Norton's Hulk?
Ed Norton's Hulk, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the best movie, I noticed how I skipped Ang Lee's Hulk.
Ang Lee's Hulk's good.
It's okay.
It has the best editing in a comic book movie.
No. I still think Mario Bava takes the cake on how to edit and create a comic book looking film. But maybe we'll cover that in another episode because that's a whole different thing. Anyway, the one I'm talking about is a little movie known as Punisher Warzone.
Oh, yeah.
Ray Stevenson was the best Punisher, and here's why. Mm-hmm. He accidentally killed a federal officer, and he feels terrible about it. And Ray Stevenson, this is why you know Ray Stevenson is freaking world-class actor right here. So he basically takes the money because he's going to dump it on the widow's porch.
Right.
Because he's like, I got to do something, right? And he gets caught doing it by, I think, the kid, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And then the wife comes out. He never says anything, really. Mm-hmm. He never expresses any emotion, but you can see the pain and frustration and sadness in his eyes. Mm-hmm. That whole scene, you're just like, holy crap. I feel for this dude. He's not really emoting. It's all in his eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think the shame of that movie is that it
Then it got forgotten.
It succeeded.
And
It succeeded the Thomas Jane. Which,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't blame.
I did skip
I
that
don't
one, yeah.
blame Thomas Jane
No, I
for
don't
that
blame
rendition of the Punisher,
mean-
but I think because of that movie, people skipped Warzone, thinking
Yeah.
it had something to do with that movie,
Yeah,
and it
which is a
doesn't.
shame.
Which is it is a shame. It's fantastic. I think it captured the
Warzone's
grittiness
great.
Yeah.
of the Punisher.
Warzone is a
Yeah.
Punisher film, and
Because-
it feels like the Punisher.
Because I mean, think about it, right? I mean, even the creator of the Punisher was like, "This guy's
Right.
not supposed. You're not supposed to look up to the Punisher.
Right.
Yes.
You're not. So he's not a superhero. He's
Yeah.
a vigilante.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a
Yeah.
murderer.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this movie portrays that
Yeah.
really well.
Like Thomas Jane, yeah, he was a good Frank Castle, but at the same time, the way the story is made, it's a revenge story.
Yeah.
And like Punisher, like after he killed the guy who killed his family, he kept going on, and like his war and crime was never ending.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, there's my little Punisher Warzone soapbox. But
Is Patton Oswalt in that?
no,
not Patton Oswalt.
no.
Not
What's
Patton
his
Oswalt.
name?
What's his name from
Newman.
Newman.
Yeah.
Newman. I
And
thought
Jigsaw
Patton
was
Oswalt.
He was also what's his name from Jurassic Park? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name.
Nedrick.
Oh,
Dennis Nedrick.
Wayne Knight.
Wayne Knight.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant the character. I was
Yeah,
like,
Dennis Nedrick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was Micro.
Wayne Knight. Yeah, Wayne Knight was
Yeah, and
Micro.
it had a way more better Jigsaw than what the Netflix.
Oh
movie did.
yeah.
Like you look at Jigsaw in that movie, and like, yeah, that's Jigsaw.
Yeah, that was
straight from the
Jigsaw.
comics.
Yeah, way better Jigsaw than the Netflix show. Than the Netflix
Netflix show has so
Okay.
many problems.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're getting into the late 2000 and aughts. Punisher Warzone, then of course Dark Knight came out, which is great, and then the Incredible Hulk came out. So at this point, you got an Iron Man movie, which, much like the original comic book, you got a movie about a character that's not likable. So getting Robert Downey Jr. to play Tony Stark was genius, honestly, because not only was he was a few years past his own checkered past by that point.
Yeah.
But he fits so well into the character, and he is likable and despicable at the same time. That's sort of his
Right.
style.
He's kind of like he's a jerk with a
He's
heart.
a charming
kind of,
jerk, yeah.
He's a pompous but
Yeah.
charming. Yeah.
So Iron Man is just solid. Like that movie's
Yep.
solid even today
Now, if I
for
remember,
a comic book movie.
the comic book was written as like kind of like a dare for Stanley. Like I can write someone that
My
you
understanding-
shouldn't like or something, and then I
Yeah.
can make people like him.
I think it was a bet between them. Like, let's
Yeah.
try to make a character that is
That's
unlikable.
unlikable, yeah.
And maybe see if we can make him heroic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
which I think the first movie captures perfectly.
Yeah. And then we're getting into that, and then Incredible Hulk, of course, which I actually like that film.
I love that movie.
Some people don't like it, and I don't
Really?
I don't kind of get that. I don't like how the Hulk looks. I don't like the '90s look of the Hulk. I liked more Ruffalo or even Ang Lee's look, where it was more the Kirby look, where it was just sort of a big hulking thing.
Yeah.
I like
not this ripped bodybuilder looking dude.
I like his facial features and all, but my only problem with the design is that it's not green. It's like more of a gray green than green.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, and didn't like the way Abomination looked, but like the fight scene, I was like, oh my god,
the fight scene's great.
Like this is like the
Yeah.
best superhero movie I've seen. In a
And then
theater.
he does the where he
Yeah.
puts out the fire. But anyway,
I love that movie.
Yeah, I do
love
too,
that movie when
yeah.
it's in
It
theaters,
captures the character of Hulk way more better than what Mark Ruffalo did as.
I don't think Mark Ruffalo got a whole lot of chance. We'll get into that.
Okay.
Because I have a few comments about how they did Mark Ruffalo's Hulk wrong.
All right.
And then we have sort of this pause right now. Now, what's on TV at this point for superhero movies?
Right now?
No, I meant in the
Oh, 2008.
2000 aughts, yeah. I mean, was there a lot? I mean, Brave and the Bold, Batman Brave and the Bold, which was
I mean,
amazing
if you're,
cartoon.
if you're talking
thing I've
like
seen in
if you're
Cartoon
talking
Network.
any show, because I thought you were just talking live action shows. Yeah, we have Brave and the Bold.
Brave and the Bold.
We've got Justice League Unlimited, which is one of my favorite.
That was
shows.
going on, yeah. That's,
Yeah.
But there wasn't a whole lot else. I know there was a couple Batmans here and there. I know they were just starting to really crank up like the Batman or the DC animated
I think
features.
between 2008 and 2000,
Which some of those are really good.
between
Yeah.
2008
Some of them were
between
not so good.
2010, there was a really good Green Lantern show.
Was there a show?
Yeah, animated.
Oh yeah, because what's his name? The guy that played Lex on Smallville. Oh yeah, and Smallville was on. Although, yeah, that's how I feel about it. Like, did you care for Smallville at all?
It was less. It was
I
a less
didn't-
entertaining. Lois
I
and
didn't
Clark.
even finish it at all. I just like start first season. I'm like, and when it got to the point where he started to be known as the Blur, where he's in Metropolis and he's fighting crime, but he's not Superman. I just like skip and like just watch
thank you.
certain key episodes, like the Blue Beetle episode, and then go to the last episode and.
Yeah, I never made it that far. But yeah, so that was kind of what was going on. So we definitely hit this sort of
Are we
trough.
Are we at this point where there's like the DC shows like the Arrow and?
No, not
No,
quite yet.
that's
Not yet.
2012.
Okay.
2000. I think Arrow started in 10 or 11.
in the
Yeah,
aughts,
somewhere
okay.
around the same time Dark Knight Rises came out.
Now we did have one movie in there that is really, 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 really good until the last 10 minutes. And I'm not a fan of his work in general, but in 2009, you have Watchmen.
Oh, Zack Snyder's
Watchmen.
Schneider.
Overall, it's a really good interpretation of the graphic novel, which is saying something, considering nobody seems to get him. Unfortunately, Zack Snyder also didn't seem to get a big part of that story, and he changed how it ended.
Yes. So,
Which undermined the whole point. I think.
So I don't know. I don't think we watched it. No, I don't.
No,
think,
I
don't
saw-
think we
I saw it
even
with
knew
Mike.
each other by
Yeah.
then.
I saw it in
But,
theaters.
and
I
I
was
also
like-
saw it in theaters.
And I was like,
I saw it in theaters, yeah.
when did it
Oh,
come
wow,
out?
you were pretty young. 2010?
Yeah.
2009.
I'm like, wow, this is a superhero movie. Wow.
So like
Very violent.
myself and a friend of mine, we were we had read the comic,
Yeah.
and we were like passing it around everybody, trying to get like
Yeah, it
people
was
to go
good.
see this
It's so
movie. The
good,
comic
yeah.
is great, by the way. If you haven't watched it, it's
Oh, read
fantastic.
it.
If you haven't read it, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So Zack Snyder's interpretation is like you said,
solid,
it's
yeah.
solid,
Yeah.
but the end, which you can
he
spoil
screws
it, right?
up, yeah.
It falls apart, and you're just like, well, this doesn't make
Makes
any sense,
Yeah,
really.
he
Like,
undermined the whole
yeah.
point.
So just can we? Do you want to get into it real quick?
Yeah,
Just real
yeah,
quick.
yeah.
So at the
Couple
end of the
minutes.
comic book, what's his name? Ozymandias. I never knew how to say
Adrian.
his name.
Adrian
Ozymandias.
Ozymandias.
Yeah. He had basically throughout the comic had
Right.
been creating an alien that was
It
supposed
was all a secret.
Yeah, it was all a secret. And then in the end, the alien shows up and destroys like all of New York. With
Well, the
a psychic
machine.
wave.
Well, he was building a machine to do that. I believe the alien itself didn't do that. The alien
Yeah.
was purely.
Right.
Yeah.
So he basically blamed it all on an external force,
Right.
which was supposed to be the reason that all the countries are going to unite.
They got over
Right?
racism.
They got over the racism. They
Well,
got over the cold. Well, they got
Because
over the
there's new
Cold War.
racism. Yeah,
Racism.
new racism.
We're not gonna talk
It's
about
us against
racism.
them.
Yeah.
Humans against aliens.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Kind of like
but
Starship Troopers.
Yeah. Well, that was the whole
the
point. Yeah.
point was to find a common enemy
Right.
in these aliens that didn't exist. And then in the movie, they did it to where it was
Dr.
it was
Manhattan.
Dr.
Point your
Manhattan's
fingers at
power.
Dr. Manhattan.
Like that falls apart because if you
The
think about-
Russians would say, "Well, you made him."
Yeah, in
Yes.
the comic, it's like, yeah, no, there is aliens. We need to band
And-
together. We need to stop fighting to fight the aliens. But in the movie, it's like, yeah, your Superman did it, so screw you. We're not going to help.
and to make
Yeah,
it
you
worse,
made this guy.
to make it worse, it wasn't just New York that got destroyed. It was Moscow,
Yeah.
Hong Kong, and a whole bunch of other places. I'm like,
Yeah.
why? Okay, so why aren't everyone pointing their fingers in America? Huh?
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah,
that's
it-
what, that
it
is
just
that is
didn't work.
exactly what would happen. Yeah,
But,
so that's
other
why
than that, though, it's a really solid interpretation.
And that's why I'm disappointed with the director's cut, because I can understand why Zack Snyder would want to change it to being Dr. Manhattan being the target, because maybe there wasn't enough time to develop the twist of an alien. But with the, I don't know how long the director's cut is, more than 3 hours, I believe.
Yeah, the
Like-
ultimate version.
yeah,
That's-
ultimate
that's really
version.
good, actually.
Like with the
It's
ultimate version, instead of like doing the whole Black Freighter cartoon, you could have.
good. Oh, it's there in the
Oh,
ultimate version.
Yeah, I know the Black Freighter
Okay.
cartoon's there, but instead of doing that, they could have done scenes of them making the alien and changed the end completely.
Something, yeah.
I would have rather
I
seen
think,
that.
yeah, I think he missed the point.
He did.
I don't think there's any other excuse besides that he missed the point of the whole thing. So it's unfortunate because,
So-
like I said, it was good up until that point.
So now we've hit a lull again. After Watchmen, there wasn't really a whole lot until 2012,
Well-
which you have what?
Just real quick,
Yeah.
I think Watchmen did the movie. I would say did what the comic book did back in the day, which is like the deconstructing of superheroes.
Yes. Yeah.
I think
Before
the,
everything
I think
became
the film did
deconstructing.
that for movies, for
Yeah.
superhero movies.
Yes, it did.
For
I
everything
think it was probably
from it.
too early. I think if you watched it now, it'd probably
it
be
was
better.
too soon. Yeah, but by the time the comic book came out, it had years and years of history. So
So in 2012 is when everything changed. First, you had a little movie called
Green Lantern.
I'm skipping Green Lantern.
hey, that movie was a revolution,
No,
sir.
it doesn't. That
No,
movie.
it's terrible.
Okay, yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, I got
There's nothing. He does nothing heroic.
It's not a superhero movie.
Yeah, he does
mean-
nothing heroic in that movie. The only person he saves is like a. You don't know if he's corrupt or not politician. That's it. That's all he does. Anyway, 2012. You get two big movies that come out that year, which sort of changed everything. Can anyone tell me what they are?
2012.
2012.
Yeah.
The Roland
Was
Emmerich
it the
movie?
was it
No, I'm
the
just kidding.
Avengers?
Now, I was going to say,
Oh,
yeah,
Avengers.
actually,
Yeah, Avengers,
you've had
yeah.
movies in there. You've had Captain America now.
Yeah.
At this point, you've had,
All right.
But the Avengers is really where things were like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Yep.
You had Thor by this point, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other movie was The Dark Knight Rises.
Even when, oh god, my dad hated that movie.
Yeah, I
I
like
love
that
those
movie.
posters where it's like Rise, right? Like
Right.
that was like the big.
I love the
thing.
soundtrack, but
And it had all the characters, and someone made a Batman '66 version where he's like,
Yeah, I've seen that.
Rise, it's great.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
So one of those movies is really bad, and one of those movies is really good.
and a lot of people like The Dark Knight Rises, and good for you if you like Dark Knight Rises. It's just
No. The best thing that came out of Dark Knight Rises was all the bad lip readings with like when he does the rap at the theater at the stadium. Have you ever seen that? That's
No.
fantastic. Oh, that's fantastic.
I'll have to watch that.
And they also do like the sandwich thing where they're ordering lunch. And he's
No,
talking-
I've never-
these
wait.
are just. I think if you look up, I think it's bad lip reading. I think
oh,
they did it. where
Red
it's like-
Avengers.
No, this
No?
is Dark Knight Rises.
Oh,
where it's like
Dark Knight. Oh, god.
bad lip reading. It's like straw. If you put in strawberries, it's like he's talking to the one toady about strawberries and how they have good fiber. And there's another one where like bad lip reading. Bane talks about lunch, and they're talking, and it's when he's at Blackgate prison. Good stuff. Anyway, yeah, good
I'll have to
stuff.
watch it.
Those
I'll
are the
watch
best
it.
things that came out of that movie. But the fact that the fact that they made Bane basically just a
pretty good.
henchman was
Yes.
the worst.
That pissed me the hell off.
All right.
Because the thing is, Bane is supposed to be a master tactician. He was
Right.
one, and he's the
He
one.
knew he couldn't beat Batman.
Yeah,
At his best day, he knew he couldn't beat him. That's why he juiced up.
Yeah.
That was the whole point.
but
Okay.
like the big plot twist is like, oh, Bane is just Talia's henchman. I'm like,
Yeah, that was
What?
the worst. It was Batman and Robin all over again.
yeah.
But let's talk about the seminal Avengers.
The Avengers.
So
yeah.
that movie shreds,
It
right?
does,
Like
yeah.
I saw it and was like, I feel, and tell me if you felt the same way
Right.
watching it. I felt like it was made for me, right?
Mm.
Did you get that
Yeah.
feeling?
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
I wonder if
Finally.
anyone got that feeling. Like,
Finally.
they made
It
like
was-
this movie for me. They had to have,
Yeah.
right?
Josh Whedon as peak, kinda.
Yeah. I got mixed feelings about Joss Whedon, but you know that movie works, and I'm happy for that. Yeah, everything did start to change. I mean, superhero movies. I think Marvel and the MCU in general. I think that's when they really started to embrace the the more comic booky side of comic books.
But at the same time, they were at a point where, oh, we can't have Scarlet Witch wear a classic costume because like that would look too cheesy. Up until WandaVision happened, and
yeah, well, yeah.
and
But
like, we can't have Hawkeye wear his mask, and
yeah,
I think he's gonna wear his costume in the show. Maybe I don't know.
Whatever. But I mean, but you did get a lot of comic booky elements.
Yeah.
You got Cap being Cap and because that's a character that's hard to translate.
Yep.
The biggest change they made, honestly, if you ever read a Captain America comic book, if you saw him in a movie, you would think this is an arrogant, conceited, pompous ass. Like
Yes.
you wouldn't. You'd just be like, "Nah, I'm out." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The best thing they did is made Chris Evans' Captain America was like way more humble
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just because
because you
Right.
can't do it
Like,
any other
I
way.
think
Yeah.
so.
I don't want to kill anyone. I hate bullies. I
Yeah.
don't care where they come from.
Right.
Like that's something.
good.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too, Steve.
Me too, Steve.
That is something comic book Captain America would rarely say.
Well, he'd probably say it outright. He'd just say, "Yeah, I'm gonna." Well, he was just so sure of himself. He came off as pompous,
Yeah.
even though it was true conceited.
What do you mean
You
you
wouldn't be
bullied? Just 'cause
subtle
he
He
about
was
it.
that good.
What do you mean you have a bully? Just beat him like I did.
Right, yeah.
I beat up the rest all the time.
Right, yeah.
You wouldn't be subtle about it. That's the thing.
But that's when everything changed, and at that point, you do start seeing a lot of CW shows. Well, I think Arrow was 1st and Arrow started out good, but
I didn't like Arrow when it even began.
no, I didn't stick with it past season 1. I think I got a couple
I
episodes
think I'm
into
too
season
old
2,
to
and I was
watch
like,
anything
yeah.
from the CW anymore.
Yeah,
Don't.
some of it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Don't torture yourself.
But
I
to
think
be fair,
I
at
did
that,
I did it with the Flash. I watched the first.
Flash
season.
started out well, and then,
Yeah,
couldn't-
again,
I
and then it
couldn't
was
get
like,
into Flash.
and then like, oh, all his villains are now speedsters. I'm
yeah.
like,
right. But in the early 2010s, CW sort of dominated TV. I can't even think of anything Marvel going on at that point.
probably
TV
Agents of
anyway.
Shield.
No, not yet. That was
No, not yet.
That was a couple years later.
Okay,
Or
it's hard to remember. What
oh
other
no,
stuff
I
is on.
guess it probably was.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I
back
guess
then there was the Lou Ferrigno
But
show.
honestly, Agents of Shield, I couldn't even get into.
It was fine.
I
It was
didn't
like
care
it
for
was
it.
it was like it was like Marvel X-Files kind of, and then it just sort of turned into like world-ending stuff, and I'm just like, what are the Avengers? Where are the Avengers now? Like they exist here, right?
I only
Where
cared
are
about
they?
the Ghost Rider season. That's the only season I like watched start to finish.
We did skip Ghost Rider films, but that's easy.
Yeah, why did we do that?
It's
They're
because
masterpieces.
There's not much to talk about, to be honest. I
I
mean
mean, the first one's enjoyable. But
honestly, I didn't think the first one was
second one I
that
saw in-
bad. It's just not good.
Second one I saw in theaters, I hated it. Oh my god!
I never saw it,
I think
yeah.
the only
It's
thing I
bad.
liked was when he was motorcycling through the desert with what's his name?
Oh,
The other Ghost
Elliot,
Rider on the horse.
Oh, right.
I think that was cool, but
original
yeah,
Ghost
it
Rider?
wasn't.
even though he looked nothing like what he did in comics.
However,
wasn't there a promo where he was peeing fire?
That's the second one.
yeah. That's the
That's
second one. Yeah, that's the second one. So you had CW shows or you had DC shows, but you also had DC animated movies.
Oh yeah.
Like Wonder Woman, which I think was actually 2010, was
Yep.
still the best Wonder Woman film. I think.
Carrie Russell was the voice of Wonder Woman.
Right.
I have most of those. I think up to a
But
point.
not all of them are good. I mean, you
Killing
have
Joke.
some really good ones in there.
Yeah, I
but-
was just gonna say
but
the
then you
Killing
have
Joke.
a Killing Joke, which 2/3 of it is a really good literal translation, but the first third is so bizarre.
It's a Bruce Timm fan
Thanks,
fiction.
thanks,
Yeah.
Bruce Timm. Bruce Timm had a great
God.
track record up
Well,
until that
the thing
point.
is,
right.
Even back in the Batman animated series, Bruce Timm always tried forcing it between Bruce and Barbara, even though Barbara was
Yeah.
like in college. I'm like, what the?
Yeah,
It
that was
seems
just
weird and gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just weird. But so there was a lot of DC animated movies, most of them which were good. I remember one called, I think it's Superman versus the
Elite.
Elite,
It was
which
an
is a ripoff
adaptation.
of The Authority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That
it's
one
an-
was pretty good.
Isn't it?
Even though the end was how he did it was kind of like, wait, that didn't
Well,
make
it's kinda
sense.
cheesy,
But yeah,
I know it's an adaptation of Superman. What's wrong with truth, justice, and the American way?
right.
And I think in the comic, the way it ended is Superman just like, yeah, I leave the choice up to you now. Rather you improve as
Right.
a human being, or I'm gonna have to stop you.
I'm gonna have to stop you.
But
Yeah,
in the comic, it's like, oh, frick, I'm stopping you. I'm taking away your space whale.
yeah, that was a little
I'm
weird.
taking away your powers.
Guys, did we skip Jonah Hex?
That would be about this time, actually. Jonah Hex
with Megan Fox.
with Megan Fox.
Jonah Hex with superpowers.
The film famously shot in like what 3 weeks and no budget or something like that.
That movie made me cry.
Yeah, I didn't even
That
bother.
movie made me, not in a good way. The movie made me openly
Not like in the Avengers,
weep.
like, oh,
No. I'm serious. I love Jonah Hex.
Yeah.
I love Jonah Hex comics.
The
They're
New 52
they're
Jonah Hex was
awesome.
actually good.
That is actually one of the better
Yeah.
New 52s.
They
for
gave him
sure.
superpowers.
Right.
Why?
Did they really?
Yes, he
the,
could talk to dead people.
Okay.
the Palmiotti run was
Right.
so good. Yeah,
And they tied it into Batman too. That's what was kind of cool.
Yeah,
the
that-
Court Owls
the
and
Court
stuff.
Owls,
Yeah.
that movie made me weep. I mean, it had Josh Brolin as Jonah Hex. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
He was
Oh,
good
yeah.
at Jonah
I
Hex.
think the fact that they had to shoehorn in Megan Fox was probably
As
Yeah.
I think it's a
Tequila,
bad
whatever her
idea.
name was.
Tequila or whatever.
Yeah.
Tequila is a
Tequila. Tina Tequila or whatever.
Her name and Jonah Hex, I don't know. She had eye patch
Yeah.
in the comics. I know that.
Was she supposed to be Beulah?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But at this point, we're now getting a little bit later. Like Marvel, the MCU is rolling. I mean, you get the
Phase
Avengers.
one.
That was actually the end of Phase 1, which I was surprised.
Yeah.
And now for my surprise, who's the producer of the MCU films?
Kim
Avi
Feige.
Arad.
Yeah,
Or-
Kevin Feige, right? I don't know who you said.
Avi Arad.
No, he is too.
God.
He is too, but
Wait,
Kevin Feige or Feige
I'm
is
just trying to remember
the
every
primary
every
guy,
name
right?
that-
No,
every
Avi
name that I
Arad.
see at the end in
He
credits.
Right.
Avi Arad was with Sony.
Right. But Kevin Feige, he did the MCU, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty common knowledge that he's the keeper of the keys. He's the Stan Lee of the MCU, right?
Yes.
Do you know that extends all the way back to 2000 X-Men?
Yeah.
Every single Marvel
Yeah, I know
movie,
Kevin Feige had
including Daredevil. With
Ben Affleck.
with Ben Affleck,
And Jennifer Garner.
including the Spider-Mans, the original Punisher, Ang Lee's Hulk, Blade Trinity. All of those.
Okay, Blade Runner.
Man Thing from the Sci-Fi Channel, that really
on.
crappy movie.
Oh yeah, Man Thing.
Did you add Blade Trinity as hold on. You added it as like a highlight of his career.
No, just as one of the Marvel. He was in charge of all the Marvel films.
Because I thought you were just naming off good movies and then Blade Trinity.
I know he had a hand in the X-Men movies. I had no clue he
all of those
was part of Man Thing and Blade Trinity.
Yes, he was. Isn't that crazy?
He's got his hands in everything. Yeah.
So at some point he got him to kind of even the Fantastic Fours, which blew my mind.
Yes.
At some point he got them all on the same sheet of music. However,
yeah,
even though they didn't always have the rights to all of them.
The Giant Cloud Galactus movie.
Right. Although that movie started out bad, it was good all the way up until Galactus showed up. And then they're like, huh? The giant cloud.
I think by this point, though, you can start to see like a shift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And like this, it's like it's balanced. Like,
right.
I mean, we start off with the Batmans, right? Which is like the Nolan Batman.
Right.
Which are, well, actually, no, let's even go back like the 80s Batmans, right? They start off kind of goofy, kind of cheesy, right?
Yeah.
And then you get the Nolan Batmans, which are
really,
the other side of the spectrum, really
realistic
gritty,
as
really
possible.
Yeah. And then you get to the Marvel movies, which are a great sort of mix of in the middle, right?
Right.
Of like comic
book elements, but still grounded in a sense of reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
What was that?
That's my phone. Shh.
Okay. Yeah, but like I mean, that's the trend that you're sort of starting to see now, and unfortunately, that's what DC is. I don't know if that's what they're trying to do and failing miserably, or if.
Well, I was going to get into that. And we are going on a little long, but that's okay. So at the same time, when Marvel is really amping up,
it's a long history. So.
You get a little old movie called The Man of Steel.
I like it.
Really?
Good night, everybody.
I mean, it's a good Dragon Ball Z movie.
Yeah, that's true. I do
have problems with it.
I did skip Superman Returns because let's be honest, let's skip.
Right?
I don't think so. No,
we didn't see Man of Steel.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, I remember we talked about it.
We talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Well, we talked
That's
about
about time we met.
Talked about it. I remember we complained about it.
We complained about it.
I do have problems with it.
Bad.
Mainly with the absence of consequence in that movie.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm fine with Metropolis getting destroyed and all that, but like by the end, Superman should feel way more worse about like everything that just happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard thing to do, and that's why you let the poor guy have an out as a character. You don't have these elements that destroy half the city because it doesn't really work for that character. You know what I mean? You can't do that.
I always found a lot of the city being destroyed because there's just two Kryptonians.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it was a bunch of Kryptonians destroying the city, and it just came down to
two. I think what really offended me about that movie, if I may say, intellectually offended me, though that's not fair, but it did bother me a lot, was that it was the whole Pa Kent dynamic.
Oh, yeah, that's my biggest problem with that movie too.
That was like, what?
It's like, you shouldn't use your powers and help people.
You should hide. You should say
What was I supposed to do? Let him drown?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't say but that probably would have been better than
he said maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Did
maybe.
He?
Yeah.
And then there was the part where he dies.
Oh,
like, no. Like, don't save me or the dog. Because I'm pretty sure that dog died too.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And
nobody would have seen him by then. Like, he could have just dashed in, grabbed the dog, dashed out. Nobody would have known he was gone.
So that began the reinterpretation of superheroes by Zack himself, Schneider.
Yeah.
That movie sucks.
Compare that scene to how Jonathan Kent died in the original Christopher Reeve movie. He dies of old age, and that's something that Superman couldn't control.
And that's why it works so well.
Yeah.
Except, he sort of violates that later on in the film. He turns back time. But, we won't go there. We didn't talk about those movies for a reason. Because Christopher Reeve is great, but those movies are not, to be fair.
Well, I don't know. Quest for Peace?
Yeah.
It's probably the best one.
Nuclear Man. And then there was...
Bizarro, the cutscenes with Bizarro
that you showed me with
Richard,
Spike
the comedian.
Richard Pryor, Superman 3.
Richard Pryor, yeah.
That actually is not a good movie, but it has
Richard Pryor.
really has a great body horror scene where the sister gets turned into like a robot or
a
whatever.
metal.
That's weird.
Type.
Yeah. And then the whole fight with himself, I thought, is really interesting. Honestly,
I think it's entertaining
really interesting,
in a bad way. So
yeah.
Anyway,
Man of
let's
Steel.
get back to now. We're getting into the DC universe.
Man of Steel. What happened?
Snyder. Yeah, Man of Steel happened. We'll just keep that at that.
Batman versus Superman.
and then we're really getting rolling with
Dawn of Justice.
We're really getting rolling with the MCU, where DC on the other hand really kept trying to shortcut things and jump to points, and they were doing the Star Trek Into Darkness thing where they were trying to tie all these emotional elements together that didn't work within its own story because there's no emotional connection there within its own story.
I know Zack Snyder at one point wanted to plan more movies, but Warner Bros. Says, do Justice League, and maybe that's...
Oh, they already got the Avengers. We got to do Justice League.
I was just going to say, well, that makes sense. By that point, I'm sure they were trying to get on that Avengers money, right? Why can't we put out our Justice League movie,
Right.
Yeah.
But they didn't do enough to build that up.
No.
Then, Avengers 2 came out, which...
That was okay.
It has a lot of issues, I think.
I mean, I like
that movie has... the biggest issue with it, it's not Ultron. I mean, there's a lot of things about that movie that are really good, but I think that movie failed from a tonal standpoint. I think it's still hung up on the conceit of superheroes being superheroes and very heroic, yet everything that they do in that movie is them cleaning up their own mess.
Yeah.
And that's a problem, tonally. I think, and I said this before the show, I think that would have made a better Avengers 3.
Yeah.
There should have been another movie in there.
It does become a plot point in Civil War.
Right.
Where,
and that's fine.
This is your fault.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I get all that. But just the movie was just odd. It was an odd mix.
Yeah. By that point, also, we're getting into, we kind of glossed over it, but we don't have to too much of it. We're getting the Netflix shows. We're getting Daredevil, season 1 of Daredevil.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah, and again, at this point, you are starting to see the Netflix show up.
My first
Netflix shows.
It was
which are just
actually no, it wasn't.
Of course, Spider-Man 2 pops up. The Netflix shows, which of course, you get Daredevil, which was really good.
Jessica Jones,
which is amazing. Yeah, but I know why a lot of people don't like that one. Honestly, that is a much more complicated storytelling, which is probably why I like it. There's a lot of complex feelings in every season of that show that are really bizarre, and I think that's why I love it. And then, of course, you get Luke Cage,
all right,
which was good.
Agent Carter's on TV.
Right.
Yeah.
Agent Carter's on TV. I think
Iron Fist I could forget about.
Iron Fist.
Wipe it from my head, please.
Iron Fist, yeah.
It was insulting.
There's some great episodes. Not most of them, but some
Colin
of them.
Wing. Colin Wing was
Colin Wing was amazing. The guy who played his brother Wade, or his it wasn't his brother. It was,
not Randall, Mitchum.
Yeah, the one guy. He was amazing. Why don't they just forget about Iron Fist? Let's follow this guy around with his freaking going to counseling and screwing his therapist.
Yeah.
All sorts of crazy stuff with that guy. That stuff was really good.
Yeah. We're starting to see Captain America Civil War had come out sometime around then too.
Well, before that was what I think is still the best and most relevant Avengers movie, which is Winter Soldier.
Oh, Captain America
Winter Soldier. Yeah, Captain America Winter Soldier. Great movie. Fantastic.
Good action scenes, good political themes behind it.
Yeah, and then back to the more superhero Captain America Civil War, which I think
that should have just been Avengers
I think has
Civil
aged
War.
well. Yeah, I think that should have been the fourth Avengers movie.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Third by that point, right?
Yes, but I think should have been a fourth. I think there should have been one after. There should have been one before Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
They jumped too quick into the Empire Strikes Back mold.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't have. Or at least they should have changed the tone anyway.
Over.
Yeah.
And we have, around that time, your favorite Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange? That's where I remember.
Why? Why'd you have to go there?
I remember losing my wallet.
Hey, it's part of it.
Yeah, I remember losing my wallet when I saw that in theaters. I left my wallet in theaters.
The only thing I can say about Doctor Strange is thankfully he was a lot better in the other movies he was in, and more Doctor Strange like than he was in his own movie.
So to you, Doctor Strange was so bad you lost your wallet.
I mean, I enjoyed it. Well, I mainly enjoyed the ending, like the last part of the movie.
Actually, the finale and how he dealt with Dormammu was actually pretty cool, but everything else about that movie was
even though Dormammu was just a giant head.
Yeah. Well, he kind of was, at least at first. Anyway, I'm going to start going Doctor Strange. I don't need to do that.
Where you were reaching a point in the MCU movies where a lot of people kind of saw them going as stagnant, like formulaic. Like basically, Doctor Strange was seen with Doctor Strange was seen as Iron Man, but with magic, or Ant-Man was seen as...
Except there wasn't any magic. That was the point.
And Iron Man was seen as... Ant-Man was seen as Iron Man, but the main character shrinks.
I think, well, in a lot of... That's comics, though.
Yeah.
I think the first Ant-Man movie is really good.
Yeah, it's enjoyable.
Mostly. And I think most of that has to do with the fact that Edgar Wright's script is still, for the most part, intact.
Yeah.
And the director, whose name Peyton Reed, I think he tried to at least
emulate
Edgar Wright's style, which helps the movie. I didn't care as much for the second one.
Yeah.
I know you liked the second one, right?
I enjoyed the second one.
I don't like the villains.
I thought the second one was very But,
so, yeah, there's this sort of period where, Tony said it. They're sort of like...
Plus,
they're stagnating, right? So, like, Doctor Strange in that same sort of time, you're getting Iron Fist, you're getting Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you're getting Spider-Man Homecoming.
Man. And they all had, like, the same tone. Like, basically, it's like, in very serious moments, the character would, like, throw out, like, unnecessary amount of quips. But the thing is, that's something that worked with Tony Stark's character. And that just because it works with Iron Man doesn't mean it works with literally every single other superhero in the MCU. Which
is why there should only really been one Guardians of the Galaxy movie, because... What the heck was that? Anyway, and phase 2 or 3, there's definitely some problems there.
I think there's bumps in the road there. Inhumans, that Inhuman show that didn't last a season, right?
Well, they changed their very nature of what they were, right? I didn't see it, but I heard that
didn't even finish that.
I heard that a lot of people that jumped off said they just changed who and what
they kept killing off the members.
Were. Yeah,
I think Black Widow and Medusa, from what I heard, were like the last two Inhumans or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then we jump back to Thor Ragnarok. I believe.
Yeah.
Taika Waititi.
You didn't like.
I didn't care for that.
I thought it was a fun movie.
Yeah. It's fun.
I thought it was fun.
Well, I thought that was a problem. It was too fun. You're talking about you're dealing with the character, the destruction of his home planet. Yet everybody's got to have fun. It's got to be fun all the time. Everybody's doing a bit.
It's definitely
which was the same problem with Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's definitely the most.
You're dealing with very heavy emotional content, family and losing family and loved ones. But everybody's got to do a bit.
Everyone has to be quippy and comedic.
And what that relates to me is it felt like, because of Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, that it's like, it was suddenly like the MCU films that came out after that felt like, we can't go dark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It can't be like DC.
Which was a shame, because it's like, let's say you're in a race. And it's like you're winning the race, but you look at what the guy in number 2's doing, and you say, "Well, we don't want to do that." Who gives a crap? You're already beating them.
Yeah.
Why are you worried about what they're doing? That's what it felt like the MCU was doing.
Yeah.
Well, I feel
because
like
the movies right after Batman vs Superman were it was like nobody could feel human emotion all of a sudden.
I feel like the DCU did the same thing.
Oh
right?
no!
Like they're they're going too comic booky. We need to go much more gritty, realistic.
Yeah.
That's which was.
But I think that's also Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
I mean, Zack Snyder likes to be a dark person, I guess.
Yes. Okay. He does have a sense of humor in some of his movies, especially in Batman vs Superman, where Batman's punching Superman and then Superman just like.
Yeah, whatever.
And Batman's
that movie's just bad. But yeah, that was a big problem. The phase was that phase 3, just early phase 3, phase 2, something like that.
You gotta watch the
Marvel phase 2.
You gotta watch the Ultimate Cut to pretty much understand the plot, since a lot of important plot details.
We'll end with the whole Justice League thing, but now we're getting into like in the Infinity War and like after era, the immediately after or before, I guess, which would be phase 3. How do you guys feel? Because I have some pretty strong opinions about a lot of those films. How do you feel about those in general?
We're talking about phase 3.
We're talking about phase 3, so you're talking about Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Infinity War. There's a few others in there. Ant-Man 2.
I don't like Captain Marvel and Black Panther that much. CGI.
See, I loved Black Panther. I liked Black Panther.
I didn't like Final Fight. It looks the Final Fight of Black Panther.
I dislike Black Panther quite a bit, actually.
Do you really?
I felt it did a disservice. From what it was trying to do.
I like messages and themes that they were trying to go with Black Panther,
but they softballed to me.
Yeah,
they really softballed it. The movie really should have been about Killmonger, not Black Panther. Yeah. Everything you needed to know about Black Panther was said in Civil War. Everything.
Yeah.
And that's the one line, which I'm going to probably tear up if I say it because it was so powerful, is when he confronts Zemo on the shelf, on the edge or the ledge or whatever, and he's like, rage is consuming them, and I've let it consume me enough or something like that.
And you've been consumed.
And yeah,
like,
you've already been consumed
why
by
Zemo killed his dad.
At that moment is when he becomes Black Panther. You don't need to know anything about T'Challa at that point. He is the Black Panther. He is the king of Wakanda.
I do agree. I think focus on Killmonger or whatever. I mean, that guy, Michael B. Jordan, was
awesome.
The breakout.
Oh, yeah.
He stole that movie.
Yeah.
Completely stole that movie.
But I think, to me, they just softballed what they were trying to go for. And then I think
Captain
the
Marvel did
CGI
that.
lacked weight.
I think Captain Marvel
didn't
did that.
feel... Captain Marvel, yeah, I thought that
I don't
too.
know,
Captain Marvel was very mad.
Which is a shame because I like Brie Larson.
I
think
like
she's
her.
Good...
I still think she has the wrong charisma for that part.
I don't.
No,
I disagree. I think here's the thing. I think she can do it. I think whatever direction they gave her
maybe
is what it was. I think she
how
has.
she was shot.
Yeah, I think she has the capacity to play that character so much better.
Because I felt every scene where she was dealing with more intimate and emotional moments, great. She was fantastic. But anytime she had to be that hero that represented something, it just didn't sell.
I like the story of Captain Marvel,
I
but
didn't feel it.
I like the story, but I didn't really like the villains. Like, the villains felt incompetent. Like,
Yeah, well, that's
especially
true,
with
too.
the reveal. And
Yeah.
it's a shame because Jude Law is playing the bad guy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but it turns out they're after the freaking Cosmic Cube.
Right.
Really? That's it? That's their whole
Yeah.
motivation this whole time?
Yeah, I thought if they wanted to make a powerful female superhero, go with Rogue.
Yes.
Go with Rogue immediately after she, spoiler, kills Captain Marvel.
Yeah. We've been to our fans. I think. Okay, so yeah, we have Black Panther, Captain Marvel. Let's see. And all the way up to Infinity War.
Infinity War, which was that movie has some issues.
You didn't like Infinity War or Endgame? I remember there's one.
Endgame.
Endgame.
Infinity War's okay.
Right.
Endgame
was fan service the movie.
Endgame. I think Endgame really betrayed a lot of characters. I think. You get Professor Hulk, which you really should have. You should have.
Spent the whole character arc building up
whole
Professor
movie,
Hulk.
maybe like
there
a
should have been
Hulk
another
movie.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. You get.
Yeah.
Do you need to do something? Or?
Oh, no.
Okay, we're gonna try to finish up here.
Yeah.
I think you should have got a whole Hawkeye movie, honestly, in there.
Show.
What was going on
I
with
wouldn't have
him?
minded Hawkeye. I know people don't like Hawkeye. But.
Yeah, and just that, and then I don't know. It betrayed really who Captain America grew to be. I think. The whole point was him letting go of the war, moving on, which culminated in his kiss of kiss of Sharon.
Yeah.
And then the idea that he could wield Mjolnir, which to me signified that he was past the war.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just basically goes back in time and says, screw him.
Yep, which kind of contradicts the rule of time travel.
Like,
that,
what?
Yeah.
Right.
It contradicts the rule of time travel that are established in that movie.
It betrays him as a character. I think, the time travel thing's secondary.
Yeah, I think that whole scene of time travel was like
time travel works different. It works differently than how it does with other movies, except for the end.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Time heist.
All right, so
and then but let's finish with let's wrap up. Anyway, that's kind of our take on some of the more recent stuff. But one final note: Zack Snyder's Justice League, which now apparently DC, I think, in desperation, has really dumped a bunch of money into the Snyder Cut to make it happen because I think they're desperate for some.
Well, there's that, and there's the bad press behind Joss Whedon, his terrible rendition or editing of the Snyder movie itself.
Yeah, and his personal struggles with, which I have mixed feelings about anyway, his personal struggles with how he treated actors.
Where you live in society.
Which, part of my complaint with that is you're in a business of emotional, that deals in emotional vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I guess I wasn't there, so you don't know, right?
Right.
But that is your business, emotional vulnerability and being pushed and pushing yourself so that you get these raw moments. So I don't always understand when they, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not there, so I don't know. But anyway, how do you feel about the Snyder Cut?
Well, I didn't watch the Joss Whedon cut, so I don't know. I mean, I think it might be
average.
It's be.
It's trying to be Marvel. That's how it feels like.
I don't know. I mean, there's so much hype behind it. How much better could it actually be? I really am not interested.
I'm
in
generally
watching
excited
the
to
Snyder
see
cut.
what Zack Snyder's vision of it is, regardless of its good or bad. Like
Yeah.
I'm actually want to see like what was originally intended.
I think the only way you'll get me to watch it is if we do it for the show.
Yeah.
I think it's the only way I'll watch it.
I'm curious and not much else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a watch party with my friends.
Oh, there you go.
So.
And now, WandaVision, how you guys feel about that? Have you seen the latest
It
episode?
started well, but like at the end, like it started to feel more like a traditional Marvel movie.
There
so.
was
This last episode bothered me.
There was
yeah.
a huge exposition dump, which I don't think we needed a lot of. I think I had a pretty good idea of what was going on. I don't think I needed it spoon-fed to me
This
the
last
way
episode, you mean?
this last episode did. Yeah. Not that it's a bad episode.
Well, there was one
I
thing
don't
that
think it's
really
bad. It's definitely
bothered
not
me.
the best.
Yeah, there's one thing that really bothered me with the last episode.
We'll have to talk about it. I
Yeah.
don't want to do
Yeah, we don't want to
spoilers
do it
for
on the
people.
show.
All right.
I have mixed feelings about the future of Marvel. I certainly don't have any expectations for the future of DC.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I'm more of a DC person than a Marvel person, despite cosplaying more as Marvel characters. But
Okay.
I'm generally excited of what DC has in store, since DC isn't going. They're not going to more. They're not going formulaic with what Marvel's been doing. They're being more experimental, especially what we've seen with Joker. So
That's fair.
yeah.
How about you? Yeah, Joker was good. Yeah, we didn't even
Sorry,
talk about
that's
that.
the thing. That's the thing about DC. Like they have this unique gift
Right.
of lowered expectations, right? Like
It is a
people,
gift.
people
It
don't
is a
listen
gift,
to
yeah.
me. Listen to me, Warner Brothers. People don't expect a lot from you, so this is the
This is-
time to
this
make
is your
stuff
time.
happen.
This is
This
your
is the time to
time.
make things happen.
Yep.
Get more Jokers out there.
Yeah.
Type
Yeah,
movies.
Joker was
Yeah,
good.
Joker was a great movie.
Joker
Get
was a
more
good
of
movie.
those out there.
Especially the last scene, because nothing mattered or nothing. He could have made it all up. That's what made it so
Yeah,
great.
You've been given a gift of lower expectation. Use it well.
Use it. It is a gift. All right. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, that was
That's
our
good.
take on
Any
those
last
movies.
second recommendations?
I
I can't think of anything at the moment.
Disenchantment, great show.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not smacking your face great like The Simpsons was back in the day, but it's still really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've gotten to watching the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. I've gotten to watch.
I was watching those again with riff tracks,
Yeah,
actually.
I was watching
because I'm
Lord-
reading them again.
I watched Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
within the last few weeks.
Nice.
And I have the books, but I
Yeah.
wanted to watch them again. And then I found this channel called History of the Ages.
Yeah.
Which if you don't read any of Tolkien's works
Yeah.
and you have questions about the movies, they have a lot
nice.
of videos of like what was Sauron doing, why was he doing this, what is the difference between orcs and Uruk-hai, that kind of stuff.
Bowlade.
Yeah. So if you do get a chance, History of the Ages, it's
Okay.
called. It's a great channel on YouTube.
And my recommendation is Batman Beyond and Batman Rainbow Bolt, which is now on HBO Max.
Batman. Oh, Batman Beyond was good. It started out good.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you.
What's that smell?
Huh?
What's that smell?
I don't know.
Man flesh.
Man flesh. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. Hey, like, share, subscribe. If you don't like it, thumb down us.
Yeah, let us know what you
us
think
know.
of DC movies or Marvel movies or
We live in society.
shows, whatever you want. Let us know in the comments.
All right. Good night.
Night.